Hey folks, Phil the Bee-Man here. I've been diligently saving my hive tags off of the culled hives all summer. Basically, I did a video on the cards, I think sort of at the end of the spring cycle, and basically then we started supering up. And at that time, I started a sort of a new collection. So there's a lot of them. It's not all good news in beekeeping these days. So I'm going to count them out, and we'll see what we can learn. I had great intentions of tracking, total queens to start, how many have been accounted for losses so far. Hasn't been time in the day to get that done yet, so I'm going to do this one, and then hopefully sometime over the winter I can do a bit of an accounting. We get desperate for work, we might even send Dave into the bee shed to count the cards that are still on the hives. He's probably not looking forward to that, but we'll see. We've got lots of other work to do too. So anyway, I'm going to go to the overhead shot, and you can watch me count these out to make sure I'm not cheating, and see if we get a full house. Okay, let's see what we got here. And I'll be the first to admit that I've never really kept super good count of my summer losses. I don't think the number is extraordinarily different this year than usual. So that's a 2020 loss. That's a mid-season split from 2020. 2019 mid-season. 2019 regular season. This one, I think I've got the year wrong. This must be a 2021. Whoever drew the dots on that didn't know what they were doing. That belongs way over here. That's a brand new queen. Didn't make it even a single year. That's a 2021 to 2020. This is going to take a while. I'll probably end up trying to figure out how to fast forward this before I post it. But I thought it'd be useful to see the process here. Another brand new queen. Boy, I hate to see that. Those mid-season queens from last summer, they've been a bit of a disappointment, to be honest with you. I don't know. Here's a really old one, 2017, 2018. This is, I think, the very first year I used these. I marked it in with just a felt marker, an ordinary felt marker, and they didn't last any time at all. Then, and there's another one like that. Another brand new queen from the third batch. So these really old ones, I'm gonna just put on the side there. Ooh, look at that, another one, and another one. And another one. Okay, you've probably seen enough of how I do this that you believe me when I tell you it's a pain in the butt. Especially since it's a little stab in the heart every time a queen you spent money for crapped out the year you put her in the hive. So I won't torture you with any more of the process. 2018. That should be another category. I don't have a wide enough table. That's my problem. Okay, anyway, you get the idea. I'll check back in once we have everything organized here. Okay, we're ready for some results. First of all, we have to remember that not every hive dies of its own fault. These two were some of the 2 of the 5 hives that bears ate. They're the only 2 that had tags on them. For all I know, a bear ate a couple tags, but we can't. So, you know, this queen from 2008 mid-season split and a U.S. queen from 2009 were quite happy to keep on going until the bear ate them. And then we get into, I've spread myself out over a bigger table, as you can tell. 2014, 7 tags. Pretty amazing. I doubt that those queens are the 2014 queens, but they've been keeping themselves going without work from me for, that's 7 years. Well done. 2015, not quite as many. Which maybe means that they're still out there. 2016, none. 2017, 4. 2018, just 1. That is a U.S. That year I used holes to mark them. That was a lot of work to tag all those holes, but U.S. queen. Then when we get 2018, this is the first year I really got crazy with making splits in the summer. And 9 of those made it this long, but crapped out on me this year. Then 2019 in the spring, 11 of my own queens made it through to this summer, but then, so that's 2 full years, died in their 3rd year. 7 of the U.S. queens, and then 4 of the mid-season, that's what that M stands for, mid-season or summer splits. In 2020, 8 of my own queens, see them marked there, and I'm also really enjoying, I didn't know it at the time, I thought I was just using the colored pen just to use up the ink. But it's really much easier to sort them when I'm using the queen color to mark the tag. 8 of my own. Now the U.S. queens from last year, I actually broke them down depending on supplier. So if someone wants to go back in the different videos, they can break the code. But code 1, only 1. Those are the earliest ones. Code 2, there's 1. And then code 3, 3. And then in the mid-season splits for summer of 2020, so that's so these queens crapped out a year more or less after installation. 15, which is that's pretty disappointing. That batch of queens, they all came from one supplier, has been turning up with a little bit more frequency than I'd like all the way through these videos. There was quite a pile. I think it was 240 to start. So, but we've, you know, that's probably 10% of what's left at this point. And then in 2021, more queens than I would have liked. So in batch 1, 13, now these are batch 1 installed in May, 13. Batch 2, Now these, I have it as March. April. That seems, January, February, March, no, sorry, April. I don't know why the batches are in reverse order. Must have been just the way they arrived or something. Or it was the last, either very late April or early May. And 6 of those. The third batch number 3, total of 4. Batch number 4, total of 4. Batch number 5, none. And batch number 6 got 1. And that was installed in June. And U.S. queen. None of the European queens. There's a big hole here where those are, so that's promising. And I guess I should have totaled these up. Let me crunch some numbers now, and I'll get right back to you. So here's the numbers. 1,500 hives of total operation, although we've only got to that number midsummer. If you'd asked me on the 1st of May how many hives, I would have told you. I would have said maybe 1,200. If you'd asked me on the 1st of July, I would have said 1,300. And you asked me on the 1st of September, I would have said 1,500. It's been a pretty amazing year in some ways. Total number of dead tags is 101. 24, 1 year or less. 29 in that second year. 22 in the third year, so fairly consistent. And then dropping off in the fourth year. So my guess is by the time we get into that, and the numbers get smaller from there. So, we're probably looking at hoping these queens last on average 2 years, with some of them making 3, few making 4. And by then they're probably, what we're really measuring when we get into these old numbers is a bit of luck of the draw. Do they successfully supersede when the original queen fails? And because at this point we're measuring survivorship more than we are losses, right? And this is why it would be fun to send Dave. It'd be probably 2 or 3 days work to count every single tag in the shed and find out what we have. So we'll see how keen he is for that ambition. Okay, so lessons learned. Don't feed your bees to bears. Look up which of your suppliers are providing queens. I mean, 13 out of a batch that would not have been more than, I think I was getting batches of 50 queens. So 13 out of 50, pretty disappointing. 6 out of 50, pretty disappointing. 4, maybe I can live with that. And then we want to find out, who's making, now these queens have been in the hives a little less time. So it's maybe a bit of an unfair comparison. Right now we're getting into June queens here. So we want to be fair, but certainly this supplier is on a pretty short leash as far as I'm concerned. So I'll leave it with you to draw your own conclusions. I'll just scan over these numbers one more time. I will say that the discipline of doing these videos is forced me to be a bit more careful on my numbers. And if you'd asked me how many hives I lost over a summer season, I'm not sure I would have said it was 100. But that's what the numbers say. And it's actually even a little worse because there are a few hives out there that don't have tags. Either the tag has been lost or it was a swarm or some circumstance where we didn't make a tag for it. And so I know that I lost, this is a bottom number. This is a floor, not a ceiling. There would be, you could probably add a dozen to that. of hives that failed over the summer that I did not gather a tag from because it wasn't supplied with one. So, I feel like I've got a well-run operation, and you're going to lose, your planning should include understanding that hives are going to go south on you and base your hive. So notice that lost 100 over the summer, but I made, what was it, 120 summertime splits. So I haven't lost any ground, even though I lost these hives. So you got to plan constantly for replacement hives if you're going to succeed in beekeeping today. All right, that's it, folks. I hope this has been useful. Have a great day.